Hi everyone, and welcome to an overview of how to do unit conversion, specifically converting unit rates. So I'm talking about things like miles per hour, feet per second, things like that. Before we get into how to convert units, I'm going to give you a quick reminder about fractions, which doesn't seem related, but it is. When you're multiplying with fractions, you always reduce before multiplying. It makes it so that you're using easier numbers and the reducing is much easier. So notice I have a fraction multiplication problem set up. I have 3 over 20 times 10 over 27. So what I'm going to do is look for common factors in the numbers that are across from each other and reduce those out. I noticed that 3 and 27 have a common factor of 3. So I did 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. And then I also noticed that 20 and 10 have a common factor of 10. So I did 20 divided by 10 is 2, 10 divided by 10 is 1. Now I can just do my fraction multiplication by multiplying the numerators and then the denominators. So my answer is 1 over 18. Now I know this doesn't seem like it is related to unit conversion, but here is how it is related. When we convert units, we have to multiply fractions. So let's look at step 1 of unit conversion. Step 1 is to write the rate as a fraction. So what they've done in this case is they've given me 25 miles per hour, and they want me to change it to feet per hour. So what I'm going to do is start by writing this first part as a fraction. This first one, 25 miles, is the numerator or top of the fraction. Per indicates that it is a fraction with a denominator of 1. So there's 1 hour on the bottom of the fraction. So this is how it looks, 25 miles over 1 hour. Now we're going to look at step 2. In step 2, it says to find a conversion factor. So in order to know what conversion factor you need, start off by looking for what words change. So in this case, the miles needs to be changed to feet. Now, they might also change this second unit. That's okay. All you do is find out how many miles are in a foot or feet are in a mile, and you can do that either by knowing the conversion factors, and I always make it practice to know some of the more common ones, or you can look them up. So if you type into Google how many feet are there in a mile, it will tell you that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So I always write that down. Now let's look at step 3 to see what's next. We need to write the conversion factor as a fraction. So I'm looking at this 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. I'm going to turn that into a fraction. But you need to be sure that the unwanted units will cancel out when you multiply. So if I want to get rid of miles, I have to put the miles on the bottom of the second fraction here. If I wanted to get rid of hours, then whatever hours would need to be at the top up here, so that when I do my reducing of my fractions, the miles will reduce out, or the hours would reduce out. Whatever it is that you need to get rid of should be able to be crossed out using fraction reduction. So let's look at step 4 now. Our final step is to just multiply these fractions. Notice in my fraction multiplication, I have canceled out the miles. And now I can just do 25 times 5,280 is 132,000. And I keep the feet that didn't cross out. And then in the denominator, I have 1 hour times 1, which is 1 hour. So my answer is 132,000 feet per hour. Let's take a look at another example. This example, we're going to have to do several conversions. So in this example, it says that they want us to change 10 inches per second into feet per minute. So notice inches is changing to feet and seconds is changing to minutes. And if you don't happen to know how many inches are in a foot, again, just look it up online. Same thing for seconds to minutes. You can look that up. But what we're going to do is start off with step 1, where we change 10 inches per second into a fraction. So I have 10 inches over 1 second. Then I need a conversion factor. There are 12 inches in 1 foot. So I put the inches across from each other so that they will cancel. And now you have a choice. I like to do it all at once, but you can do this multiplication just up to here, get a new fraction, and then change the seconds into minutes. Or you can just write a second conversion factor here, which is what I like to do. I did 60 seconds and 1 minute, and I just made sure that if seconds were on the bottom here, I made sure that they were across from each other up here, so it's on the top. Now I crossed out all of the units that match and can reduce, so inches and inches will cross out, seconds and seconds will cross out, and I multiply the numbers. 10 times 1 times 60 is 600 feet. And then 1 times 12 times 1 is 12 minutes. Then finally, I did divide 600 over 12 because they wanted feet per minute, and the per indicates that they want 1 minute on the bottom. So all I did was 600 divided by 12 is 50 feet per minute. Now I have one last example. In this example, I'm going to give you a unit that is squared. So if the units are squared, you need to square your conversion factor. For example, I have 7,200 degrees per minute squared, and I want to know how many degrees per second squared that actually is. So notice the units that are changing is that it's going to be minutes squared changing into seconds squared. So I found out how many seconds are in a minute. There are 60 seconds in a minute. Then I'm going to just square that conversion factor. So 1 squared minutes squared equals 60 squared seconds squared. I just squared everything. Now I'm going to write my fraction, 7,200 degrees per minute squared. So 7,200 degrees over 1 minute squared. And then I'm going to take my conversion factor and write that in a fraction. Notice the minutes are across from each other so that they will reduce. So I have 1 minute squared over 60 squared seconds squared. Now I can multiply. 7,200 degrees times 1 is 7,200 degrees. 1 times 60 squared seconds squared is 3,600 seconds squared. This is 60 squared. And finally, I'm just going to divide this to get it per second squared. So 7,200 divided by 3,600 is 2. So this is 2 degrees per second squared. So I hope that video helped you understand how to use conversion factors and how to convert the units in a rate.